probably heard these phrases before. Man up, suck it up, get over it, what are you, a pussy? You hear all that sort of stuff all the time, especially if you're a bloke, and if, like me, you're a 6'6" bloke. Everybody seems to assume you can just suck it up and be a man, but really, men have feelings too. We're human like everybody else. And I'm here to tell you in this short documentary, it's okay to feel like shit sometimes. I'm going to go over in this next few minutes, I'm going to go over some of the things that have happened to me, and hopefully this perspective will help you. I apologise for the poor quality, but I've got to do this on a very limited budget. And as you're probably noticing from my backdrop, I've had to squeeze some of this in during work time. Now, if you've ever been in the workplace and somebody's told you to man up, here's something I need to show you. Many of the people that have told me to man up, I'm pretty sure couldn't do some of the work that I do. And I'm just going to pull this off to show you exactly what I mean. Notice my workplace has this handy sign that says potential for fall. That's because I'm actually working 100 feet up in the air, and that's my vehicle down there. It's I have to tell you, when I first started this job, I did wonder what I got myself into, and I had a few moments of anxiety. And I did what many people would call, and I manned up, and I pushed through it. But it really wasn't that simple. I actually had to face my fears, I had to think logically through it, and I sought a bit of support. I talked to people, I spread my concerns out, and I talked to people who had done this before and how they got through it. And the people who really helped me didn't tell me to man up. That never even crossed their mind. So really, that phrase is bullshit. It really is. Now, about 2 years ago, my brother committed suicide. He was accused of some nasty things, which I won't repeat here, which we know were a lie at the time. But it was basically society's pressure to tell him to man up. And he went to get help. There's plenty of help available to women in similar situations, but very little available for him. There was anger management, which really wasn't applicable to the situation, and that was about it. And society, given the nature of what people had said about him, society's pressure was very, very heavy, and he felt that he couldn't live on. I had to help prevent him with a number of attempts. At one point I had to drag him back in my car by the hair while he was driving, or while I was driving, in fact. It's not really memories I like to go back and live over, but this is sort of what's inspired this documentary. I'm planning to go back and visit into the Victorian high country, some of the places where I last remember him being truly happy. And it's some of the places that I haven't really been very much. I've been there once. And so hopefully I'll recruit a cameraman and he'll come and help me out. This trip is going to follow my attempts to confront and accept my brother's death. To that end, we're heading northwest of my hometown of Sale into the Victorian high country on Donnelly's Creek Track. And if any of you are locals, you'll know Lloyd's Hut. This is where his favourite camp spot was, and the place I think he was last truly happy. The following scenes are some videos that my brother recorded, messages to our parents on his trip. My parents had recently acquired a four-wheel drive and were learning to explore the countryside. My father probably somewhat less. And he's recording mostly to my mother, showing them the trip, showing them the way. He went all the way up to Wanangata in this trip. But this gives you some perspective and a little bit about what my brother was like.
Yeah, Mum, Dad. This is where I've been staying the last couple of days. Lloyd's Hut. But, just give you a quick tour before I run out of battery again. There. See here. Generator point. This place is light a fire underneath there. Wait an hour and a half and you've got hot water inside for the shower. I'll show you in a sec. And yes, I've been cutting up some firewood. Aussie does a wonderful job. Running water. And hot water services done. You've got hot and cold. Sink. Funny birds around here laying some weird eggs. Yep. Door. Yes, been rather smoky in here, and yes, there's a second light of mine I made. Fluoros. There. And another fireplace here. Big hole in the roof. Let the smoke out. Good afternoon, people, and welcome. Have a look at this. It's a stunning day. Barely a cloud in the sky. I'm not at home at the moment, as one can tell. Anybody who's been here will recognise this straight away. You go, yep, we know where you're at. So, yeah. Quite a distance from home at the moment, but what I wanted to show you is this little setup that I did a quick video on, and it didn't seem to work out too well, so here it is. And my Makita radio modified. Now this has it'll show up, yep, there we go. 12 volt 33 amp hour deep cycle battery in it.
With filming permits in hand and the sun up, it was time to pack a few basics before heading out. As the budget for this documentary was a bit slim, I'd have to be a little ingenious to get around some of the permits. I made sure to pack duct tape and a telescopic pole for that little bit. Loaded, it was time to pick up my drone pilot and brief him on the documentary and the filming ahead.
So the purpose of what you're documenting, right? Of what? Is it erosion, deterioration? What are you looking for?
Hang on a sec. Basically what I'm documenting... Oh, where's my gear? Second gear. There we go. Basically what I'm documenting is basically I'm calling it man up, or something very similar to that. It's all about the social expectations of a bloke. You know, like, you know, whenever you're having a hard time, people are like, you know, oh, you're a bloke, man up, you know, suck it up.
You
deal
suck
with
it up,
you know.
But,
well, from here it was time to hit the paved road. It wouldn't be too long before we'd be off on the dirt track and onto the slow stuff. We're about halfway through the day now, and it's been a fairly rough and noisy day because we've taken the good old beast with us. But we finally made it to Lloyd's hut, which somewhere down here, there's, I think probably near the lander over there, there's a little stump that's got Lloyd's hut carved into it. But this is where my brother would have been, up at Lloyd's hut. We have the same place here. We have the generator point that he pointed out, and underneath the covered area with the door and the sink. And we're doing some drone repairs at the moment. We suffered a casualty during filming, but as you do, I'm told. And we're back out here again.
Oh, sweet. We got video feed.
Sounds like good news from the drone. We should be good. It's quite a tranquil place here, and some of the reason I'm out here is to try and explain the kind of person my brother was, and that he was the sort to man up. He didn't talk about his emotions a whole lot, and he'd bottle them up. And the unfortunate part about all of this is that it did end up killing him, and that's a very sad thing to say, and for me mostly, the rest of the family. You can't just bottle things up. You do need to talk about people, and to be honest, you're going to get more respect from people for talking to them and not just bottling things up. Because one thing I find, especially with work, my work is a little stressful as well. When I come home stressed, I treat my wife like an ass sometimes, and I have to stop and really try hard to be self-aware of that. I'm lucky enough that I married a woman that talks to me and tells me, reflects on me and goes, hey, what's wrong with you? You're not normally like this. So since my brother's death, I've really made a real mission of things to try and be self-aware and to talk to the people that I know I can talk to about these things before they become a problem. And the interesting thing about it is I've made more friends doing that. People respect me more. And in the end, it's turned out to be a good idea. So I'm sitting on the very bunk that my brother set his swag up on. And I have to admit, it was a very hard thing to do when I first came here. I actually only spent a few minutes here the first time. And I haven't been back since. This is the first time since then. Because I was a little overwhelmed by everything. And that was still when the rest of my family was still going through the grieving process, and I didn't feel it was time to vent everything. But my response to all of this, to try and get through it, was to put my head down and work. And I've been working almost 7 days a week for the last 2.5 years, and it's not the way to fix the problem. I'm just deferring it. And so I've been forced to deal with it now, and so I'm really only coming to terms with it now. It's a little easier up here today because I'm here with an extra person. We've got the drone pilot, and we have a task to do here. I'm not really thinking so much about it, but I really have to. This is something I've got to face, and I haven't really grieved over this yet. So it's about time that I probably come to face with it, however that happens. I don't really know how.
When you get just a sense of the isolation and the distance from any humanity and society out here, I can very much understand why my brother came out here. There really isn't a soul for miles. The people that do show up usually move on to the next hut. A very controlled way of keeping a social life. I can understand somebody that had a whole lot of bottled up emotions would come out here just for the solitude and the time to try and plan out and to think about things. But if there's one thing I've learned from this, is that when you take solitude, you often brew on things. Little problems often become much bigger. It's okay to ask for help in these things. Sometimes the help really does help.
The sun's in the different direction. You can actually see a bit better in here now without having to use the torch. I'll give you a better idea of what the hut's like. And the roof's black from all the smoke from the fire. Oh yeah. My nighttime food prep area. Because I ain't gonna be out here of a nighttime trying to prep food. It's too damn cold. Now, anyway, snack time. Later this evening, the boys down at Store Point have invited me down there for chat and a couple of drinks. So yes, when it cools off a bit, I'll take my big ammo box torch down there and have a bit of a chat and a drink. I'll see if I can find my way back up here again. No, I won't fall down any mine shaft holes. I'll stay on the road. Well, I'll catch us later.
And so in conclusion, the message is quite simple. Don't bottle it up. Break your silence and say something. The most manly thing you can do is face up to how you feel and say something to someone. The night that I went to my wife and told her that I had some suicidal feelings was one of the hardest things I've had to do. But after that, things started flowing freely. I could talk about stuff. We eventually got to the bottom of things. And that's all you need to do.